man, it's happening. Is this working? Is it live? I think it is. Welcome to Marking Up the Word. We are trying something. I don't know why YouTubers always say we, but I am trying something new in that I thought it'd be fun to do a live Bible study, to do these Marking Up the Word videos, but just to try to do them live. And so that's me right now trying to do this. I don't know how it's going to go. I've never done it before. I'm running on OBS, and I know a lot of people use Ecamm Live and pay money for it. And I don't know. I just wanted to try it out. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I will just a whole bunch of caveats because I am in Canada, so we apologize for everything. I will apologize up front that one, I don't know if this is going to work. I've already had issues, which is why I had to start a little bit late. So we'll see if it works. Two, I'm not going to know if it's working or not. I'm just going to do it. And if you guys are in the comment section, definitely leave those comments. But I probably won't be talking to you guys until the end, which I will say, I'm going to throw up my end card as well. Although thinking about it, probably not. Never mind. Scratch that. We're live. We're doing it live. All right. All the caveats out of the way. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. If you're watching this, what we do on this show is to just dive into the Word of God and mark it up. So I'd encourage you, if you don't have a Bible, go grab one. If you don't have something to write on, go get a pen or a pencil and mark it up. Mark it up with me. So we're in Romans 5. We've been going through the book of Romans for the last year now. I started this really at the beginning of this whole COVID pandemic, which I'm not supposed to say those words, so we'll see even now. I'm getting all kinds of nervous doing that. But anyways, we've been doing this for a while now, so I'd encourage you to go back and watch some of the old ones if this is the first one that you're watching. But welcome, and let's get started. So let's just hop right into the text here. So we're going to read it, and then we'll start marking it up together. Verse 15, but the gift is not like the trespass. For if by the one man's trespass the many died, how much more have the grace of God and the gift which comes through the grace of the one man, Jesus Christ, overflowed to the many? And the gift is not like the one man's sin, because from one sin came the judgment, resulting in condemnation. But from many trespasses came the gift, resulting in justification. If by the one man's trespass death reigned through that one man, how much more will those who receive the overflow of grace and the gift of righteousness reign in life through the one man, Jesus Christ? All right, so last time we were talking about really this typology that the Apostle Paul is using because he's been talking about sin constantly. He's like a good Baptist pastor, just always talking about sin for the first 4 chapters. And he gets into how we're totally depraved, and he gets really deep into that subject. He's trying to really communicate what the gospel is to the Roman believers. He's never met them. He wants them to have the essentials, right? And so he starts talking about sin for a long time. And now he's making that transition from talking about the death that is a result of sin to now talking about life. But in order to do that, in order to get to that life part that we can experience through Jesus Christ, he has to show that there is a definite connection between us as human beings and Adam, the first Adam, the guy in the garden Adam. And so what we just talked about in our last study was really this typology beginning to be used. And so I would say that really verses 12 through 14 would be talking about the similarities between Adam and Jesus as a type. Adam is a type of Jesus, so a picture. And so he's talking about similarities, and then I would say what this passage is about is really about the differences. So he wants to show them that Adam is like Jesus in that he was our family head. And we talked about that idea of when Adam sinned, all sinned in Adam. And there's a bunch of different views about that. You can go watch the last video about that. So he was showing like there's a connection that has to take place either through Adam, which everyone in human history would fit in that category, but there is another possible connection that comes through faith in Jesus Christ to Jesus as our new family head. And so that's the similarities. There's a definite parallel between these two, but now he's wanting to show how different these parallels really are. So similar in how you have to be attached to one of these two, but different in what happens because of that connection. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this time. Next time, we're going to be talking about the superiorities. The superiorities of Jesus over Adam, and that's really through the end of the chapter. But let's get started here and marking this thing up. It says, but the gift is not like the trespass. So once again, we are seeing a definite opposite now of Adam and Jesus. That's why we have this conjunction for but. But the gift, so the gift is something that's going to pop up over and over and over again, just all over the place. And he's going to be contrasting this idea of the gift with this trespass. And he's going to do that as well over and over and over again. So what then is the gift? That's the question, right? Well, we do have an answer in the text itself. We can see it from, the outside looking in here, but also just here at the end of verse 17, it says, and the gift of righteousness. So the gift here is that righteousness. And I would even say that it is that alien righteousness that we talked about in chapter 4. That this is a righteousness that is not of our own, but it's a righteousness that is given to us by Jesus. And it is a gift. It's something that we don't deserve. And really the first 4 chapters of Romans tell us just how much we don't deserve this thing. And so here we have this gift being given to us, and it is not like the trespass. So here we have now this connection that's going to be made. And we can put a little chart here, and we can talk about the differences between these two things. So the gift and the trespass. Now, the trespass is talking about that one sin that we see just in the couple verses ahead of it. So Adam's sin, that specific sin. And when he did that specific sin, we all sinned. And so we are now fallen because of that. We have a sin nature. So how is it different? Because it's similar in that you fit into one of these families, but how is it different? Well, here's how he starts it. For if by the one man's trespass the many died. So we can put under here this idea of being dead. I will just say, for those who are just hopping into this study, here in this passage, Paul is talking about death not as the main problem of humanity, even though it is, we all die. But here in this passage, he's really talking about this idea of death as like the proof. The proof to the pudding that everybody has sinned. And how do you know that everyone has sinned? Well, you can see that everyone has died. So because of that you can see that everyone in all of human history, except a few that God used in different ways, I guess, but most of everyone, 99.99999% of humanity has died. And you can know that because of that, everyone is a sinner. That person is a sinner because they died. That's the result of sin, or the wage that Paul says, because of sin. So through Adam's trespass, through that one act of disobedience, rebellion, disapproval of God, everybody dies. The many, and that's a word that's going to come up quite a bit here. For if by the one man's trespass the many died, how much more? Now this phrase is super important because that's really what this passage is all about. Now, as I said, we're going to be talking about the superiorities here in just a moment, as I'm getting a call from Bolivia this time. We're in my province, we're getting a whole bunch of just weird calls. I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen as soon as I went live, that we would be starting to get calls from all over the world. It's not because of the show. It's because they want to sell me something. So, how much more? Sorry. How much more have the grace of God and the gift which comes through the grace of the one man, Jesus Christ, overflowed to the many? So we're going to see that Jesus' grace, which is the gift, I do think that he's using it synonymously. So he's saying that this gift of righteousness, even that term, the gift, is something that you don't deserve, and that is grace. It's a grace that God is giving someone to redeem them from their sin and give them this alien righteousness. So we can put here, we'll put up on top, let's go red, and we'll just talk about Jesus' grace and how it is more. And we're going to see that over and over again. All right, so what is it? What is it more of? How much more have the grace of God and the gift which comes through the grace of the one man, Jesus Christ? So we're going to see this phrase repeated here. The one man's, because he is making this comparison between Adam and Jesus. So these differences, he's trying to show off these differences, but also at the same time show us how they're connected. So there are some similarities here. We're going to see a lot of parallels in this passage. But the grace of God and the gift which comes through the grace of the one man, Jesus Christ. And here, I love the way he puts this. It overflowed to the many. So, what is he trying to do? Is he trying to show, this idea of death versus life? I think so in a little bit, but right here in this passage, it seems to be more of that, as Paul is using this idea of death to talk about the certainty of people's sin. I think what he's talking about here is this idea of overflowing, which is like something happening, but not just happening, but it's like definitely happening. It's an overflow of something. So this grace, it doesn't just have the same effect like Adam's sin has on humanity. It is holistic in that all humans have a sin nature, and because of that, all die. So it's whole in that way. But this is so much more. He's saying, like, if Adam's one sin could do that to the rest of humanity, then how much more is Jesus' grace going to affect us? So I would say here that Jesus' grace is more certain. It's going to overflow to the many. It's not just going to happen. It's going to be even more certain. So we can have confidence then, as someone who believes in Jesus, who would say that I'm no longer connected to that family head of Adam, and because of the alien righteousness of Jesus, I'm now connected in a very real and a very tangible way to the headship of Jesus, that because of that, it's even more certain than what I see in this world, that when I see suffering and pain and death, I can be reminded of the certainty that I'm connected to Jesus. So how much more has the grace of God affected my life? So it's more certain in that way. Verse 16, and the gift is not like the one man's sin. So again, just that preamble that he's doing, just like in the beginning of verse 15. And the gift is not like the one man's sin, because from one sin came the judgment, and here resulting in condemnation. So I think, again, he has that idea of death in there. So he's now saying that because of that one sin, it wasn't like Adam just partied it up there in the garden and did a bunch of different sins. It was one sin. It was one act of disapproval against God, one act of rebellion. And because of that one singular act, all of humanity was doomed because of it. And what he's saying here now is not, some people take this passage and they talk about, all right, well, But from many trespasses came the gift, and they kind of take it as like a chronological thing that, oh, well, it's just over time, there was just more sin and more sin, added on top of Adam's sin. Every person in history has sinned. So because Jesus came through the line of Israel, all of that, then now we have Jesus even through all that sin. I don't think that's what he's talking about. I think that he's talking about us as individual people. Yes, we have been doomed because of that one sin, but let's be honest. All of us sin, right? We sin a lot. We've sinned today. I want you to think in your mind just the last time that you thought of a very negative thought toward God. Maybe you wanted to do something and God doesn't want you to do it. What was that thought like? That was rebellion. Or maybe you were just, mad at your spouse, something like that, going through the day. Maybe you're having a really hard work day. We sin all the time. And in spite of that, we get justification. So it's Jesus' grace is more certain and it is far more powerful. So let's get that up there. Or if we wanted to be real Baptist, we could put capable. Yeah, we got some alliteration happening now. It's almost as if someone studied for this thing. All right. But from many trespasses came the gift, resulting in justification. And again, if you're new, that is a very important word for us. It is a word that we've seen over and over and over again. It means to be declared righteous. And again, that's talking about that alien righteousness that's given to us from Jesus, that we can experience only through faith in him. You get that. Even though you have all that sin. Doesn't matter how messed up you are, how much you've screwed up in your life, how much people might despise you because of all the things you've done to them. Regardless of any of that, if you believe in Jesus, you get the justification. So through that one sin came all kinds of judgment, came death to everybody. And now, even in spite of all of your sins, you can have that alien righteousness that doesn't come from within you, that is from outside, given to you by Jesus, and you can be justified. So it's more capable. That grace that is given from Jesus is more capable than Adam's trespass, his sin. Verse 17, if by the one man's trespass death reigned. So let's start drawing up some pictures here. So we have this idea that's contrasted here of death being the king and reigning through that one man. So again, let's just put Adam here. How much more? So this is the word that we just keep on seeing, or the phrase that we keep on seeing over and over again. And we're going to see it even more when we get into next week's study. How much more will those who receive the overflow of grace and the gift of righteousness reign in life? So let's get a different color crown here. Reign in life through the one man, Jesus Christ. So again, we have this contrast. We have this contrast of death, and we see it just dominating, right? I don't think that we, as pastors, as Bible study leaders, just as Christians, I think that we've been able to understand death a whole lot more this past year than, any other point in our history. So we don't have to talk about it. We can see it, right? We know all the stories. You probably know someone who has gotten the disease and, has unfortunately perished because of it. Up here in Canada, we're dealing with a lot of variants right now, and there's a lot of death, and it's so sad. It's so depressing. And we can see just how wicked this ruler of death is on us. It just dominates us, and there's nothing we can do. Regardless of all the medical steps that we've taken, how far just medicine has come in the last 100 years, we can't stop it. Even, I mean, again, just Rona is such like a big example of this, that regardless of everything we do, it's still there and it dominates over us. And here he's saying, how much more then will life through that one man reign over us? And I love it. I love it because he's talking about just how rich and abundant the life of a Christian is. Now, some people will take that and run with it and be like, oh, okay. So that means, you got the nice house, you got the pool out back, you got, the huge truck. That's what we do in the prairies of Western Canada. All right, everyone wants a big truck. You might think, all right, well that's what it means. We're going to reign in life. We're just gonna be able to put our feet up and all of that. But that's not true. That's not what Paul is meaning here, specifically for the Roman believers. They're living in like the hardest place. Maybe, thinking about it, maybe in all of human history, at least in Christian history, to be a Christian, Rome might be the hardest place. We know what Nero's going to do. He's going to light Christians on fire. Like, all of that awful persecution is coming for them. So they're living in like the harshest climate possible. So I don't think that's what the Apostle Paul is saying for those individuals, this idea of prosperity. No, but they are going to reign in life, or, in that same way that death is reigning over us, that in a physical way we experience it. All of human history points to that fact. In that same way, life is going to reign over us. How does that happen? Are we talking about prosperity? No, we're talking about the joy. Maybe if we're sticking with C's here, we can talk about the cheerfulness. The cheerfulness that we experience as Christians. There's a joy. There's a joy that happens because we know where we're going, that we can face all kinds of things. And that's what he talked about, I think, 2 studies ago. He was really having the end goal in sight, that we're going to glorify God because we get to be with God, and that informs how we live right now, that we could have a confidence in how we live. I think that's true, but there's something just beautifully happy about knowing Jesus, about knowing him, who he is, but also just how he lived his life, the love, the compassion that he showed others. There's a beauty to the life of a Christian. There's just a happiness. There's a joy. I think it was Martin Lloyd-Jones, when I was studying for this, that he was talking about how we are never more attractive as Christians than when we're rejoicing in the life that we have in Jesus. And I think that's so true. And I think that's something that we just have failed at, to be honest. We've really failed at this past year and a half. As all this stuff is going around, there's chaos all around the world, and we could have been the voice being like, yes, but I have the joy of Jesus. And unfortunately, there's just been a lot of anger and hostility and a lot of politics, unfortunately. But I think Martin Lloyd-Jones, that thought of never being more attractive as Christians than when we're rejoicing in the life that we have through Jesus, that is more compelling. That is more compelling than anything out there in the world. So I guess if we're looking for applications here, we're going to wrap this thing up. But if we're looking for applications here, it's that just focus on Jesus. Focus on what he's given you, the life that he's given you, the joy, and the joy that's not just like a basic kind of happiness. I like getting packages in the mail. I like ordering things and doing like retail therapy. And, I'm excited when that package comes in, and it's fun to open it up and see what it is, whether it's a new book or, a new hat. I'm all about my hats. So, something like that, I'm happy, but that quickly fades, right? Like when you get something, there's like this happiness, and then you're just like, well, let me go back onto Amazon and see what else I can get, right? Well, I think that what he's talking about here is a joy that lasts, a joy that isn't just like a moment, like you just, oh, you're happy for a moment, but it resonates through your life and it actually affects how you live. That we as Christians, this is something I'm learning, I'm struggling with, especially this past year and a half. I can be cynical as all get out, but as a Christian, I have to keep on reminding myself of this: that I have a life that is abundant. And that's what grace means, right? It is abundance. It's something that you don't deserve. So in itself, it has that definition of being abundant. And that life that I have, yeah, it is abounding. It is joyful when I'm focused on Jesus, when I'm focused on following him, when I'm focused on pleasing him and showing to others just how compelling the person of Jesus Christ is, and that we want them to be connected to Jesus in the same way that we are, and no longer be connected to that first Adam, but to be connected then to that second Adam. So next study, we'll be talking about the superiorities, just how much better. We have a little bit of that here, but I think really what he's doing is just showing the main differences between these two people, these two Adams. And next time he's going to be talking about just how much better Jesus is. And boy, is it a lot. All right, let me hop over here and see. I don't know if anyone has been watching this live. Doesn't look like it. All right. Let's see here. No one's here. All right. Well, if you come in and you watch this after, I appreciate you watching it. I hope that it was helpful for you. I don't know if I'm going to do this again with the lights and everything. And well, the lights will be here, but just it was not the easiest thing in the world to figure this thing out without having to pay a bunch of money. And I'm not sure if it's worth it at this point, but let me know in the comments if you'd be interested. One, if you'd be interested in a live Bible study where you could interact, because I could invest and we could have a little bit more interaction, or what time works. That would be helpful to know too. If there's a certain time, a certain day that works better for people, I'm open to changing it. Usually I drop these things just as a full video on Wednesday morning, but I'd be open to changing that time. So let me know in the comments, but thanks for watching, and I will see you guys. Let me see if I can get over to it. I'll see you guys next time. See ya.